Fitzy, welcome to the Creative Block. I appreciate you making the time. All the way from, you're living in London?
No, I'm back in the UK.
Uh-huh.
Last time we spoke, I think I was in Greece. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, in the north of England, Leeds.
Nice.
If you know Leeds, I mean, it's about an hour from Manchester for anybody that doesn't know England well.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I'm a little bummed that we're not at a sticky pub having a pint and fish and chips and having this conversation. But if I make it out there,
Yeah.
I'm going to track you down and we'll have this conversation IRL. So
Oh, I mean, look, you had me at pub. I mean, you had me at pub.
I love it. I
You
love
had
it.
me at you had me at pint. Absolutely.
That's cool. So I reached out to you because I was watching you on X and you were talking about a few things and it was some conversations that I was like, oh, I need to call you and learn about what you're talking about because you seem kind of passionate about what the dialogue was. And so the way I framed this conversation earlier when we talked was, tell me the top three things that you're excited about. And you wrote you were excited about Bitcoin Ordinals, OCM, OnChain Monkey, and Scarma coin. Am I saying that right?
Karma, as in, karma
Karma,
goes around,
Karma.
comes
Okay, it's
around.
got the dollar sign in the front, so I thought that was an S. Karma coin.
Yeah, sorry,
So
yeah, yeah.
no, 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 totally, totally fine. So let's go through that. So I think most people have a sense of what Bitcoin is. We don't need to go into that. But Bitcoin ordinals, and I have a small collection of NFTs. I love the NFT space. I think NFT and music and things like that. But this is what, maybe only a year old, the development of Bitcoin ordinals. I've been seeing it not, it's the chatter about it has been fairly recent as far as I could tell. So
Yeah.
explain to us what that is.
So just to answer that sort of second part of the question, yeah. So January last year, so January 2023, a guy called Casey Rodemore took a protocol on Bitcoin named the Ordinal Protocol live. And in short, it meant that they'd found a way after 15 years of Bitcoin's existence, and with NFTs having existed on lots of many chains, right, as
Yeah.
opposed to just the fungible, spendable token Bitcoin itself, these non-fungible assets, which allow you to obviously have culture, store of value in different ways that are not necessarily as tradable as a dollar to a dollar or a pound to a pound. It's these non-fungible things. And so on Bitcoin, this protocol was a massive deal. And I mean a massive deal. I wish I had stats to back that up, but the amount of value in terms of let's just say dollars in this first year because of what that protocol unlocked for the Bitcoin ecosystem is billions. And it's billions, and the amount of ordinals, and I'll come on to what they are specifically, but the amount of these kind of like, just for now, let's just think about them as NFTs. These NFTs, there's tens of millions of them already, right? And so they had this kind of Cambrian moment where there was just this explosive creation, exponential creation of these assets. And so best to maybe think about what this is at a core level. So on other blockchains, and let's use Ethereum as an example,
Right.
these are smart contract based chains, and you can execute a collection of art and say, I want 10,000 pieces. I'm going to have the art be, JPEGs, for example, just images, and they're being referenced off chain in some kind of like Amazon Web Services or IPFS or basically a third party off chain storage facility.
Hmm.
And so, what the NFT space realized over the years was some don't really still acknowledge this, but it doesn't change the fact that it's true. People own NFTs, but what do you actually own? You own a smart contract. Well, you own an asset that was created by a smart contract, and it references an asset. So whether that be an image, so a piece of art, a PFP, like an on-chain monkey, for example, which that's a bad example because they were completely stored on-chain on Ethereum. They were the 1%. So I won't use that. But a bored ape. Let's use a
Okay.
bored ape.
Yeah,
Everyone knows
of course.
BAYC.
Yes.
Assets that have traded for millions of dollars at a time, right, in the last bull market. Um, the asset itself is, you don't own the asset. You own a digital certificate that says your asset is stored here, but you don't actually own that, right? And this is a philosophical conversation almost when we talk about these concepts, but when you have Bitcoin and Ordinals and now the ability to have the asset stored fully on chain, so fully immutable on the most decentralized, most secure, treble, I think it's about treble market cap of Ethereum as it stands today. And I believe that's only going to keep on going. OG Bitcoin, 15 years tried and tested. It's just Bitcoin, the brand, is the greatest. Bitcoin in terms of security, decentralization, and all these things, and the properties of Bitcoin, which I won't go into because that's really sort of nerdy stuff, but there's just levels of quality, right? And now Bitcoin has that. It's changed the game significantly, as you can imagine. I mean, I could go into a whole tirade around, the difference between the chains, and that Solana is more for like casino because, you have transactions per second are super high compared to anything else. You have cost gas fees, barely nothing. So that's more for people that want to like press the pleasure receptor in their brain, just like, click, 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 click. And then you used to have Ethereum as the premium store of value for these assets, even though they were off-chain 99% of the time, right?
Interesting.
But then now we've got to the point where, and this is a phrase that I heard used recently, and I use it myself now because it's incredible. Ethereum basically did the R&D for Bitcoin. So they did all the research, they developed all the protocols and all the things, and they tried these things. They would bring them to market, tried to find product market fit, grow businesses. And then now Bitcoin goes, well, we know what works and what doesn't work. Our devs will figure out how to do this on Bitcoin because now we can build layer 2s. We can have smart contracts if you want running and then settling onto Bitcoin. But I'm going off on 7 different conversations, as I often do. But ordinals are an entirely new asset class, right? Is the way that we look at it. They're very, very different to any other non-fungible items or assets that have existed elsewhere. And when I say different, I mean better is subjective, but in terms of quality, robustness, immutability, and the chain that they're on, I think it's fair to say a more premium, better product. So I'll stop because I could do that for 10 hours, but that's the 50,000 foot view with some dips down into it.
From the perspective of me, of a content creator, I've created NFTs on OpenSea and exploring other platforms. So if I were to say, do I actually have a better ownership of this file as opposed to the other platforms where you're saying it's third parties? Because basically what you're saying is, for example, on Ethereum, if I have a NFT, I don't actually own it because part of that is on a third-party server somewhere. It's not actually on chain. Is that a good description of that?
Yeah, I mean it's fully on chain, and I emphasize fully because blockchains, anything that goes on there is on chain. But there is a distinction that should be made, and so I mean OnChain Monkey again is a good example of this because in 2021. And nobody appreciated this. I'm still sure many people don't appreciate it, but they decided that they wanted all of their things to be fully on chain. And so if you go to Ethereum now and actually look on chain rather than going and sort of looking where the smart contract exists, where the file that the smart contract points you to, right, at these IPFS storage places, units, then you'll see that it's there. It's actually there. You can find it. The image is there. Now, if that were, because we talk about art a lot in NFTs, and I think images and art are just the synonym of NFTs. But of course, an NFT can be any type of data. So I think about cultural data. I think about texts. I think about storage of, I forget the stat, but there's something crazy. I think it's thousands, maybe hundreds of like African languages from tribes that are going to go can the language go extinct? Let's just go with it. Language will go extinct because it's not being used because the elders never wrote it down and it's passed on to generations. And so these things can go out. But if you store them on a blockchain, i.e. one of the main selling points, great robust storage, right, that can't degrade, then cool. But not cool if it's on Ethereum 99% of the time, not cool if it's on Solana, not, because the actual file is stored elsewhere. So, IPFS is just a storage solution. But say IPFS goes out of business in the future, that NFT, when you click on it, will point to something and it won't retrieve the image. It won't retrieve the text. It won't retrieve the contract. It won't retrieve the land deed. It won't retrieve the mortgage, right? Whatever it is that we're transacting with in the future. If these third parties that are not on chain, that are traditional world entities, right? They become the weak point in all of this. And so Bitcoin has the ability to have these files stored completely on chain. Nobody, no government, no entity, not the creator, literally nobody can do anything about that. It's just there. It's like inscribing on a cave wall that's, made out of pure diamond, but something that's 10 times more stronger. But, even then that's flawed because that's in a physical geographical location and that value cannot be transacted with seamlessly via your phone. So it is significant. And I'm eulogizing because it is so significant. And I want people to understand just how significant that is for humanity.
That sounds really exciting. And is there, because now this is a new thread for me to pull, where will I look? Like, where's a good place to see good examples of this, in your opinion?
So as in like blockchain explorers and things like that?
Like how people are using it, yeah.
So all of these things, there's different sites for different chains. So if you go and look, if you want to interrogate the data on Ethereum, you can go to somewhere like Etherscan.
Right.
If you want to interrogate the data on Bitcoin, you can go to mempool.space. Mm-hmm. And so, the actual tools and their UI, they're kind of the same thing, although they look different. They do the same thing, and you can go find it. There are other sites, like if you want to go, it depends at what level you want to look at this stuff. Like if I want to go look at an image, I can go to one of the marketplaces. I can go to Magic Eden, for example, for Bitcoin, or OpenSea, the leader for Ethereum. So I can go to Bitcoin, I can find an NFT, I can look at it there. Great. NFT, we don't use the word NFT, we use ordinals. That is the word.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. So then,
digital artifact is probably a better phrase, but people
right.
don't like that. It's a bit too, pretentious.
Yes. And then how does OnChain Monkey play into that? Is that something else, or is it associated?
So OnChain Monkey they have been, and will continue to be pioneers. So Danny Yang, the founder of OnChain Monkey, there's three founders: Danny Yang, Bill Tai, and Amanda Terry. Danny Yang is my instinct is to say the technical guy, right? They're all technical, but Danny Yang is the guy who creates things. So to give you some kind of context, this Ordinals protocol, Danny is actually in advisory for the entire protocol. So he's building OnChain Monkey and other companies around the group. MetaGood is the parent company, but the technical feats that he's achieved in terms of engineering and the ability to take data, compress it, get it on chain at a relatively low cost compared to other people who are still just taking a JPEG, right? And going, that's what I'll inscribe onto Bitcoin. Well, that's data heavy, it's a large file size, and so it costs more gas. So it's very inefficient. But to speak to that point in terms of the significance, because I keep saying pioneering and innovation, and I haven't really given you any, so let me give you some. So what Danny did last year was he pioneered the creation of something called recursive art on Bitcoin. And so recursion, before this, a year ago, I hadn't really heard of it, but it's a mathematical computing type of term. Think about it that anything can call data from somewhere else, right, and bring it back to where it is. So it's like this data exists on this database, and I can call it and I can create these things. So if you think about, do you know JavaScript
Yes.
for creating art? So
Right.
they're these libraries. And so he inscribed, because he has the foresight, because the fees are going to be unsustainable in the future for transacting on Bitcoin. He was like, you can't just keep, there's only 21 million Bitcoin. I think it's probably good to preface this and remind people there's finite amount of Bitcoin, which means there's finite amount of Satoshis, Satoshis being the individual lowest denomination of the currency. I think there are 100 million Satoshis per Bitcoin. So times 21 million, I don't know the number, but it's got a lot of zeros. And so there's only so many. And so demand, because of the properties that I described earlier and just how important that is, the demand for this, as people are realizing what it is only going to increase exponentially.
Yeah.
And so the price to transact is only going to increase exponentially. And so Danny said, well, that's not sustainable. And one of the company values is sustainability. Like they have these values, RISE, RISE, respect, integrity, sustainability, enrichment. And so through the sustainability value, he was like, let's find a way to be more efficient. And so he created a 10,000 collection, OCM Genesis, OnChain Monkey Genesis. And they originally had lived on Ethereum, but we've migrated them across to Bitcoin now. And so we're a Bitcoin collection, a Bitcoin company, not an Ethereum company as we used to be. And the point I've not gotten to is how the recursion is pioneering. And so you put data on there. So he put these JavaScript, P5.js and 3.js, as well as a compression library, onto Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is now software. That's how it should be thought about. And so anybody that wants to create art can use that inscription, and they can call it when they're building their art out, right? The engineers that are doing that, the devs, and they can say, well, that data already exists on chain. I don't need to add it again. The library already exists. Let me just call it. And so I want my image to spin. I want my image to be this color. I want it to be this shape. Well, that exists in this library here. Why would I pay the gas to get it onto Bitcoin again? So recursive art, recursion generally on Bitcoin is the most significant thing to happen to Bitcoin since Bitcoin, is the way that I look at it.
Wow.
Because now you have people, the word I would use is called, like I would say, on-chain citation, right? For data, for information. And people are citing the inscription that Danny created. And so no one's visualized it yet because the UI would have to be incredibly complex, but somebody will one day and people will go, oh, I didn't realize what this is, because this is a lot of words that I'm spewing. But ultimately, on-chain citation, immutable citation of the data that he's put on there is being used by most of the people that are creating on Bitcoin. So thousands and thousands and probably hundreds of thousands and maybe even millions by now have maybe unknowingly used what OnChain Monkey did, because they birthed recursive art on Bitcoin.
Wow.
And the kicker to this, because that's already a head, can I swear? That's already a head fuck, right? To get your head around, is when he did that inscription, that data, he embedded in the code of 300 NFTs, 300 ordinals, the OnChain Monkey Dimensions collection. And so every single person that's creating something else using that, even unknowingly, right, they're citing these 300 NFTs. So these 300 digital artifacts, these 300 OnChain Monkey dimensions, they contain the genesis of recursive art on Bitcoin. And so the significance of that, when people realize and catch up to what Danny did last year, people still don't realize it. And it's taken me a long time to get to the point where I can converse about like this. Like this has taken a year of thinking and speaking to be able to regurgitate this on the show. But yeah, so when I say pioneering innovation, like they've changed Bitcoin, literally.
Wow. Big claim.
It's just a fact. it's just a fact.
That's cool.
But,
That's cool.
you know.
I'm excited about getting into it and learning more about it. That's pretty incredible. And then how does Karma Coin fit into this?
So Karma Coin is a Bitcoin crypto, a Bitcoin coin, right? Karma Coin. And a council from the OnChain Monkey community, myself being one of those people as a community member, um, came through and just said, look, we need to do something. And so there were two guys that were in it before me, a guy called a guy called Jason Fang, who's the founder of Sora Ventures. It's a Taiwanese, I believe, Asian Bitcoin ordinal venture capital fund, right? One of the leading funds. Him and a guy called, he goes by Soldman Gax. That's his alias. He's not fully doxed publicly. Great guy. But Soldman Gax, as the name would suggest, he used to work at Goldman Sachs. He's an applied mathematician. I always forget where he took his university degree from, but let's just say Harvard. I know it's one of the big ones. Could be Stanford, I could be wrong. So then they wanted to create a coin that could help OnChain Monkey, the brand, grow and reach other places, right? And so without going into all of the details, a coin can go around the world very quickly, right? We have all these meme coins. It's not a meme coin, but Asian markets, for example, Jason is very in tune with them in these WeChat groups. They don't really use Twitter. And our space often forgets in the West about that whole other continent over there, right? That's obviously transacting at a high level in terms of digital assets. And so there's a lot of different theses and a lot of different parts of this, but one of them is to take the brand as a community initiative, create something, a coin, that is not an official product of the company, but as is often the case in Web3, the community is part of the company's extended family, and these sort of network effects that you get by individuals being bound by ownership of a member, like ownership of an NFT within a membership club or a community. So I'm doing what I always do. It's a community initiative to take the brand, take what OnChain Monkey is doing, because they have a lot of philanthropic endeavors and they're very much for giving back and helping people. And I don't have enough time to go into all of that, but cool. MetaGood is their overarching company.
Nice.
And so the coin is an attempt to, just like bootstrap and help the brand in any way that we can, bring it to new people, bring other people in, because the price point to enter the community is high. Thousands for the big pieces and for the Genesis and these dimensions. But the Karma collection, these Karma monkeys, they're hundreds, but still for a lot of people it's not accessible to get into the ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And so the coin is a way of saying, well, entry into this sub-ecosystem of the greater entity, the greater organism. So again, a lot of words, but it helps us as a community reach more people, connect more people. And therefore, because of the, wanting to help others, help more people, essentially. So that's probably the soundbite. But
last year when we talked, there was quite a bit of debate, I think, after like which of us had the best hair. And so, from the audience point of view, I think that can continue to be an ongoing conversation. But tell us, if people want to follow more of your content, tell us where you are.
So I'm in a few places. I mean, I live on Twitter, right, as is the way in Web3. So my handle is at Fitzhugh, so FITZYOG, Fitzhugh. My name is Neil Fitzhugh. Like, I'm on LinkedIn, FITZHUGH, Neil Fitzhugh. But Twitter has my link tree. So genuinely, it's the most efficient place. I've written a couple of articles around the OnChain Monkey ecosystem in recent months. There's a YouTube on there. There's a what else do I have? TikTok and stuff. I put out little bits of content here and there. But my daily is my website that I mentioned earlier that probably is out of date now, but it exists. Go look at it. Yeah. If you've got 10 minutes to kill. But yeah, Twitter is my hub. All roads lead to Twitter with me. Yeah. DM's always open.
Yeah, I love that. And you've been open, super supportive, and of this show and the conversation. I really appreciate it. And I'll grab all those article links and stuff and put them up for the audience to read. So really appreciate that.
One thing I'll do as well. I didn't write this because this is Danny Young, but he wrote an op-ed in Bitcoin Magazine, right? He was invited to write an op-ed in Bitcoin Magazine, and he, for anybody that really wants to go read about this at a broad, high, and deep level, it's a masterpiece. Like he's outlining to anybody that wants to see it, anybody that wants to hear it, how this is going to play out, how it's already played out, what he did, why he did it, the significance of all these things. I haven't even gone into the other things that they pioneered. There just obviously isn't time, but it's a lot. There's a list of something like 12 or 13 things. OnChain Monkey were the first to do this on Bitcoin, and this on Bitcoin, and this on
Wow.
Bitcoin, and this on
Cool.
Bitcoin, and this. There's just a list. So it's yeah, if anybody likes reading, then I invite you to read all these things. But very much appreciate you having me on, and I always enjoy catching up and the hair thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let it rumble on. I mean, I would say I'm probably the greyest, maybe.
Yeah, could be. Or neck and neck at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll tokenize this conversation. We can see how that goes. So I really appreciate you making the time. Wishing you safe travels. I hope you and yours are well and happy and healthy. And we'll watch what you're putting out. And until next time, thanks again, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks, Vince. Speak soon.